And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to, I think this is the first chat loop back off in the APAC time zone. So I'm very happy to be here hosting. My name's Adam Gardner. I'm a CNCF ambassador and the lead DevRel for a company called Dynatrace. But enough about me, I suppose. Today, I'm pleased to have Nitish with me. So talking about CloudEvents, I'm just going to hand over to you, Nitish, and you take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Adam, for having me here. Hi, everyone. My name is Nitish. I work at Acuity as a software engineer. I am also the maintainer of Argo CD project, which is a CNCF graduated project. And I'm really excited to be the part of Chat Loop Back of episode once again. So today we're going to talk about cloud events. Uh, to be very honest, if I'm being very honest with you all, I haven't prepared any sort of demo, something that's in my mind on what I need to present in the cloud events, because I believe that's how the general approach for for the chart to back off event looks like, where you just pick up a project and just go through it from the scratch. So we'll be going through the scratch everything. I'll try to understand. I'll share my approach of how I see this project as, and then we'll figure out things on the way. But having said that, let me just share my screen and we'll be good to go. All right, as you can see, I'm on my screen. So cool, we're going to start with the first thing, and I'm just trying to read stuff here. So cloud events, it specifically stands for it. Like the description it says, it's a specification for describing event data in a common way. So events are everywhere, yet event publishers tend to describe events. Uh, So looking at what I could see, it has something to relate with the events. So they have given a definition here as well. Like cloud events is a specification for describing event data in a common way. Cloud events seek to dramatically simplify event declaration and delivery across services, platforms, and beyond. Having said that, I, how would I typically think of? So, for all of those who don't know about what are the events, actually, in simple ways, events are simply uh, any actions that your source is going to perform. Um, so so events could be anything like that's going to actually come from your source, right? For example, let's say that you make a get. Let's say that you want to watch for a stream of changes to a specific endpoint. So whenever you hit that specific endpoint, let's say /watch, there are going to be some stream of events like the happenings that we're going to make sure we keep looking at it. So events are nothing, but in simple terms, if I have to describe the events could be that uh, are anything that might trigger an action, you know. So let's say that so how I would typically describe it like this way is, let's say you have a source here, and let's say source could be anything, right? Source could be, let's say your application is going to produce some events. For example, your application writes some data. Your application is going to notify you about something that has happened. Your application, or it could be any sort of stuff like that might be happening. So source is like from where the event has originated. Let's say you have a source, it could be an application or it could be a database, it could be anything. Uh, and so when this source uh, maybe go through some sort of events, if I can put it here, like let's see if I can, yeah. So when this source eventually goes through some events, it's going to produce some actions out of it. So let's say that this source application has some sort of events it needs to go through, and obviously some actions will be performed based on that. But since we're talking about cloud events, in simple terms, cloud events, we're specifically talking about events that, uh, so we're specifically going to, I think, talk about the events that might be coming from the basically some sort of something around cloud native stuff. So if I go down, you can see that it says that the cloud event adopters, and out of which you can see such as examples like Argo events, uh, Azure Event Grid, Amazon Event Bridge. So a lot of these projects under the hood use cloud events. We haven't seen what cloud events internally does. We're going to take a look at it soon. But this is how I would typically start. I'll just see what about the Argo event. So if since I work mostly with the Argo project, so if I can see that Argo events is again an event-driven workflow automation framework, so it allows you to trigger 10 different actions such as creation of a project, creation of Kubernetes objects, invoke workflows. So these are the events that are happening. That so let's say an event example is like you created a deployment. That's an event that has happened. You deleted a pod. That's an event that has happened. You created a service, you modified a service, or you did anything. That's some sort of event you're trying to do. And let's say let's say you deleted a service. So when that event got triggered, there might be something that has happened to your cluster. That something that has happened to your cluster is what I'm referring to as an action. So source is like where you have some sort of events that might be occurring, that is sending some events. And once those events have been sent, then there are going to be some actions that are going to be performed based on that. So go down. So a lot of projects use this. If I just want to go through the history of this project, it's organized by the CNCF Serverless Working Group, and everyone is encouraged to join us. That's pretty good. The Cloud Event Working Group has received a large amount of industry interest ranging from major cloud providers. The specification is now under Cloud Native. Okay, so this is a CNCF project, obviously. So if I just try to search more Cloud Events CNCF project. So as far as I can see, yeah, here you go. So this is a general detail about the cloud event. And I think it's a CNCF incubating project. Oh, no. So it's actually graduated project. So it moved to graduated maturity level on January 25th, 2024. That's pretty good. Um, so again, so let's go ahead and see about the specification. So as far as I can see from reading the cloud event specification, so it says events are everywhere. Example, like that's a correct statement. Like whatever you do, you're actually producing some sort of events. Let's say you hit a get request, then again you are producing some sort of events. Let's say you modified something. That's also an example of event that has. Okay, so I think this is mostly about how we're going to write the specification of the cloud events. But I do see that it has SDKs, and I think something that I'm pretty much interested is the Go SDK. I think this is going to help us learn more about the project. So I personally will try to play with this, and we'll see if we can do something with this or not. I will come back to this pretty soon. Um, let's let's go about code of conduct, governance, contributors. I see. So they have SDKs as well. The primer section is about this. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. So they have the history of the project here. It was started by the CNC. It started by CNCF Serverless Working Group. And then you have the cloud events concepts. That's what I was looking for. So an event includes context and data about an occurrence. Each occurrence is uniquely identified by the data of the event. So if I go down, yeah, that's what I was mentioning. See, so you have a source here. Like this is the example that I gave here just now when I was drawing on accelerator. Source events actions, exactly. So see, so it says that the source is going to generate a message where the event is encapsulated in a protocol. The event arrives to a destination, triggering an action which is provided within the event data. So yeah, I mean, so that's what I meant to say, that you have a source and you want to, and it triggered some event, right? And then based on that event, an action is going to be performed. So this is a complete docs as far as I can see about what are the goals of the design goals of the project going to look like, architecture, how the architecture of the project is going to look like, the data scheme, everything like that. So that looks pretty good to me. I don't want to feel overwhelmed reading all of this, so I'll probably take few things at a time. But if I go to the spec section, I see it has a specification is defined here. If I just go down, let's see. Yeah, here you go. Example I was searching for. The following example shows a cloud event serializes JSON. So I think what it means to say is that, let's say that you have an event, right? Let's say your web server is running on port 8080 and it sends an event, and your cloud event is running is basically listening for events on port number 8081. Example, let's say it's going to listen for events on port 8080 or 8081, whatever. So that event, uh, whatever the event that the cloud event receiver is going to receive, that is going to have the payload something look like this, where you have a spec version, the type, the source means where is it's coming from, what's the subject going to be, time at which that event occurred, and things like that. So I'll try to play with this, but I've got a basic understanding about that. It's revolving around where you send the events, and cloud events will help you receive those events as well as send those events again and again. So I'm specifically interested to play with the SDK Go library, and let's see if we can do that. Okay. So it has an official cloud events, and it has mentioned information about Go get. How do you get? Then this is how you send your first cloud event. Context, and then receive your first cloud event. This is how where you have the cloud events. You start the receiver, and then this receiver is going to do something with the the receiver. Okay. And then you can also create a cloud event from an HTTP request. Cool. And then you can serialize or deserialize the cloud event data. You can set its ID, source, where it's coming from, type, data, and things like that. Okay. And you can obviously unmarshal it. So marshal means like let's say that you have Ghost structs and you want to convert it into a JSON format. How will you do that? Is with the help of is that's what we refer to as the process of converting the Go data structures to JSON, is what we call as marshalling, or let's say YAML. And similarly, unmarshalling is you have the JSON data and you want to put it into Go data structures. You want to map those Go data structures into Go data structures. So that's the process we call as unmarshalling. So yeah, if I go down, I can see that it has your send your first cloud event. This is how we're going to send a first cloud event. And this is how we're going to receive the first cloud event. So what I'm thinking about doing is, let's remove that. How about we do this? I'm just thinking about a random project idea for now. So let's say I have an HTTP server that is running on port 8080. Let's see. Or let's say it's running on port 8081, whatever you say. Let's say it's running on port 8081, right? This HTTP server is going to produce some data for us. It's where is it? How can I log this one? Not log, but I want to group this one. Um, Anyways, never mind. So let's say this is HTTP server, and you are going to have um, cloud events in the middle of it. So let's say this is the cloud events. Okay, this is cloud events, right? So what is going to happen is that uh, cloud events is going to typically receive the events here. So you can basically receive the events with the help of cloud events. That's what I'm thinking to do right now. So you can receive events with the help of cloud events. Um, what's the use of HTTP? It's going to send the cloud events, right? Because think about it. If you What is the cloud events receiver going to receive if you're not sending any events, right? So this HTTP server that we're going to build in Golang or Go is mainly we're using it to send the cloud events on port number, let's say 8080, but the HTTP server is actually running on port 881, so don't get confused of that. Um, and it's going to send the cloud events here. and then the cloud events receiver is going to receive those events. So for example, it can be something like, let's say that your HTTP server is, your web server is running on localhost 8080, right? So whenever you hit a send, whenever you hit a GET request to the send endpoint, uh, and cloud event should be sent. Okay, a cloud event, that's what I'm thinking about. So when you hit a GET request on send endpoint, the cloud event should be sent, right? Or basically created or sent, whatever you want to say. Uh, the receiver should receive that event. Okay, so your HTTP, your web server is going to basically send the cloud event, and your receiver is going to receive that cloud event. So that's what I'm trying to do with that. Let's see if we can implement that. I already have it here. So if I go mod init cloud events, perfect. All right, so I have created the go.mod file. I'm going to create a couple of packages here. So I'm going to create sender slash main.go. And I'm also going to create receiver slash main.go. Receiver slash main.go. I'm just trying to play with the Go SDK library so I can get to know a better understanding of the project. So I think our first step should be trying to listen for the events, trying to build the receiver, and then we can basically build the sender. So I'm going to give this package main because I want this to be an executable binary. I don't want to have a separate main.go file for that. So let's build it based on that. Cool. If I go to the, where is it? Yeah. So it has this docs about how you're going to receive your first cloud event. It has a pretty much same stuff, but the first thing that we need to do is do this. Is let's see that. Here you go. All right. Okay, cool. Now we're going to use that. So we're going to use this library, cloud events. Okay. Will not import, no required. Wait, what? Cannot import, no required module provides package. Really? Let's see that. Yeah. Cloud event start new, let's say. I have to see why is that happening. Anyways, I'll just copy that. I want to copy this module and I'll just put this one now. Okay. So, all right, let's see that it's working. Cool. What are we going to do now is we're going to build a receiver first, right? So let's see that. So I'm going to see cloud event start new HTTP. I'm going to build a client, HTTP client. So here is the function for that. It's taking an options. So I don't want to specify any options. Okay. If error is not equal to null, then obviously error creating the HTTP client. But since I also want to log that error, I mean, print that error. So here you go. That's better. So now once I'm done with that, what I'm going to do next? Okay, I'm going to just start the receiver. So if error is equal to c dot start receiver, what is the context? I'm going to provide a context on background and a function. So, so receiver, let's see that. And can create a receiver and it's going to take an event, which is of type cloud events dot. I think it's showing error because here you go. And we're going to take a receiver. Let's say it actually takes something like an event, cloud event. Yeah, here you go. And then I can do anything with that event, event dot. So I can, let me see that. I'm just reading the stuff here. So what I can do apart from that is, let's see that. Okay. Yeah. So okay. Well, that's what I think is enough. I can simply say, so as they have mentioned here, something like, where is it? They have mentioned it something like c dot start receiver, and then they're calling this function receive. They are just doing stuff with that. I can simply do it something this way, maybe received cloud event percentages. I can and event. So I'm going to use that. And I think that's it. This is how I'm going to build the receiver now. This receiver is actually, so you might ask me, where is this receiver listening on which port? Or on which port is this receiver going to listen for events? So I think it's going to listen for default port 8080. As far as I can see, it might be listening for events on port 8080 because that's the default port generally. So I can even mention something like log.println receiver has started listening for events. Okay, rather than writing so much simply. Okay, and if error is not equal to null, then just simple panic. Okay, and that's it. I'm going to now, let's try to run the main.go. All right, it has started listening on port 8080, but our job hasn't been done. We now just need to configure a sender. And once we're done with that, I think our problem will be solved. Package main function main again. So since as I mentioned about this stuff that I was thinking to build, is whenever a user hits on localhost 8080 slash send endpoint, whenever you hit a GET request on that, the cloud event should be created or it should be sent, and the receiver should be receive that event. So so few things here. Now the thing is your receiver is already listening on port 8080. So now this port is already bound, right? You can't use that port 8080 to basically run the web server again on port 8080. So that's the reason I wrote that let's run the web server on another port such as 8081. But this web server will be sending events on port 8080. Although it's running on 8081, but it will be sending events on port 8080. Yeah. Okay. Let's try doing that. All right. Cool. All right. So if I have to listen And that I'm just going to say slash send endpoint and then function. Just give me a second. Where is it? Yeah, cool. Let's remove that. And we'll func. And then the pattern I'm going to follow is slash send and then function. That's it. So it's going to take a function, and let's now this function is going to have our logic. Where is it? This is how you can obviously create a cloud event within from an HTTP request, but I think I would be interested in doing that. So I'm going to create a new client HTTP. Then I'm going to create an event, and I'm going to set it source type data, whatever I want to. Then I'm going to set it target. I think this is the place where we need to set it, right? This is the place where we need to set that this uh, HTTP server is going to send our events on that port number or that URL, and then we're just sending the event. So I'm going to just copy this line entirely. Let's see. Cool. A lot of things needs to be imported first. Let's see that. Let's try to import this and net slash HTTP. That's it. And I don't think so this is required anymore. Cool. Oh, you also need to import the log. And what's something left now? Context, I see. All right, so we have, oh, it's okay, yeah. So what we're doing, I think right now is we are obviously handling a function. We are defining a function, what is going to happen if we're going to send a request on send endpoint. We are creating a HTTP client, then we're creating an event. We're setting this event source, something like this. We can also obviously set its type. This is taking a string. Then we're going to set its data. Let's say I'm going to send the data something like message. What should be the message? Um, hello world or hello from the web server. Yeah, hello from the web server. Or maybe hello from the sender web server. That's it. Hello from the sender web server. So what is going to happen is we are going to send an event, and this web server is going to send us event, and that data that will be in that event will be simply this, which is a message that is going to have a value, something like that. Now we're going to set a target. Now target is, I think, where we're going to send this event at which port. So I already mentioned our receiver is listening on port 8080. So we should be sending an event on localhost 8080, right? And yeah, and once you have sent that event, that's perfectly well. If there's an error, if then just say fail to send an event, otherwise log.print sent. I can simply mention something like, what should I mention? Like, um, yeah, I mean, that's it. Or maybe I can send cloud event send successfully. I'm using. Okay. Uh, well, that's it. But this is not yet completed. We need to make sure our server is also running on localhost 8081. So for that, I'm going to here like mention something like uh, running on the server running on localhost 8081. Okay. And http dot listen and serve and 8081. And then you're going to have an handler, which is, I think, in this case, going to be null. And that's it. Just to optimize something, we can probably optimize this code later, but since we're just trying to do that. All right, so let's try to run this. I'm going to just put it here and let's see now. See, you are having a server, which a receiver already listening on port 8080. We're having a web server, which is going to listen on port 8081, and it's going to send events on port 8080. So if that works, a receiver here should be receiving the events. Let's see. Go run sender main.go. Server running on localhost 8081. Now you might be wondering why hasn't the sender sent something? It's because it's only going to send an event. Like this function is going to only get executed if you hit a request at this endpoint. So let's go there first. Localhost 8081. Yep. And so obviously this is saying 8081 is 404 page not found, obviously because we haven't set anything for that. But if I say send, all right, server running and all right, you see event sent successfully, and it simply says a message, hello from sender web server. So it means whenever I send a request here, whenever I send a request on this endpoint, it's going to work successfully. Well, I can do something like this. Well, let's say else, instead of doing this, I can simply say fmd.f println cloud events and successfully. Yeah, this is going to be better actually. So now let's try to do that. So if I now hit a request, it says cloud event sent successfully. You see the event, it's there. Let's try to send this event again. Let's hit request again and again. And you can see you're receiving the events here. So what is happening? We are able to build the project that I was thinking about. Our HTTP web server is listening on port 8081, which is sending data, which is basically sending events on port 8080, and then this cloud events receiver uh, is uh, is listening for cloud events on port 8081, and that's what we are doing right now. So we have a receiver, we have a sender. If you ever want to just modify something like how to improve this code, I think it's always better like having few things maybe we can define is like constant port is equal to 8081, and then you can simply use here, like here you can simply use like the port number so that this field is never modified. But these can be the small improvements which we can make. But I think that's it for how we did it for the SDK Go library. So you can receive your first cloud event this way. Obviously, that's what we did. That you can create a cloud event from an HTTP request. We can even try doing that. And then you can obviously serialize, deserialize stuff. Um, but I just wanted to play with the Go SDK, and I have got an understanding that like you're sending events, and with the help of cloud events, you can simply receive those events over and over again. So yeah, um, that's it. If we just want to go ahead and search more about the project, a lot of good stuff. I think this project is doing really good stuff. It's quite active. It has a lot of issues open as well. So people are working on it. So this PR was open last week. That's again a really good thing. If I go to the Go SDK, it has a bunch of issues open. The last issue was open. Okay, I'm not sure if they're maintaining this anymore. But if they're doing it, it's pretty good. Um, so yeah, then they have the blogs here as well. That's telling. So here it's information about that the project has graduated now. So this is an information about the sequel that has reached the version 1, like the first major version, I guess. And then you also have like SDKs in JavaScript, Java. So whatever we did in Golang, you can do it in JavaScript, Java, whatever you would want to do that. And specification is already setting something. Now let's try to do something. If I go back here, not actually this, but if I go to the spec section again, where is that page? We recently saw that page where it was about, I think, primer. Let's see. Yeah, it was the spec.md. And if we go here, yeah, that's what they mentioned. The following example shows a cloud event serialized as JSON where you have spec type source subject ID, right? So if I go here, that's what the things you see here: spec type source ID time data content times data whatever is it. So this is what is happening, so whenever you send an event, whenever your cloud events is sending those events, this is how the event payload is going to look like. You remember, like you sent a request from this web server, and this is the event attribute. So basically, the event structure, how that event structure going to look like. Now, depending upon your use case, I think you can do a lot of things. For example, once you have received an event, you can fetch its source type. So let's say where we're receiving the event. We're receiving it here. Then I think we can figure a lot of things. So event dot source, yeah, you can simply say that if event dot source um, is equal to where is it? Example slash URI. Then hello world. And that's just trying to give an example that you can obviously do a bunch of stuff with here. You can fetch the ID, time, whatever you want to do, but depending upon, and that completely depends on your use case. So I think that's it. I decided to play with the project. Um, if I go to the SDK.md, they have the information here. Release notes information is already very good. Languages. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good thing that this project is also available in another language here as well. If I just try to refresh the website. Oh, sorry. Um, I don't know. Is it like a front end issue from them? Okay, there might be. But as far as I can see from the languages, they have this, I think, Chinese languages as well as this language too. So yeah, so they have the pretty much other languages as well, which is a good thing. And if you're curious about this project, I would highly recommend going to the project website, uh, try to see what this project does, maybe play with it, maybe play with the example that I recently just tried doing that. Um, and then maybe just go through the issues, join the Slack community, and see if you can offer some help to the project. But that's it. I think we're having a bunch of time, but that's it for the time, and I'm happy to answer any questions so far.
Nice, great stuff. What I'm seeing here is that it's sort of a vendor neutral specification for sending events. So it's
Yep.
decoupling, the tool from the actual event. So I think I saw you had a piece on there that was like pull request opened, but obviously multiple Git vendors could have pull requests or merge requests. So then now I can describe a pull request in the same way across different. Is that the
Oh,
idea?
I don't think so. I mean, as far as I could see, they have the pull request although here, but I think the point could be here something like, let's say that you have a webhook that's going to listen for some events,
Mm-hmm.
and then if that webhook is eventually sending the cloud events, then you can configure cloud events to you probably can do something with the cloud events to receive those events. But something that is pretty much useful in a scenario could be when you're using webhooks for that. Or let's say if we want to use Argo CD. Let's try to take an example since I've worked with the Argo CD project. If you want to integrate cloud events, maybe with the Argo CD project, something that you can take as an example is, let's say that you configure notifications for your Slack. Uh, let's say a sync is successful. And every time a sync is successful, you're going to send a notification on your Slack channel. So cloud events can eventually see for those events, and then they can trigger response on the Slack. I think that could be another use case for the project.
Right. So your sync status would be sent as a cloud event that then Slack would consume. And
yeah. I mean, then you will have to do a lot of stuff like Slack API, a lot of things you will have to do. But I think that will be the point. You will have to configure notification template engine. But if you go through both the docs of Argo CD as well as Cloud Events, I think you can make the things work out. That could be one use case of the project.
Yeah. The other thing I was wondering, obviously I've got an observability background, and OpenTelemetry has events. How do these two play together? When do you use which one? That sort of. I'm just thinking out loud here. And then also, is there any tooling that can help you visualize cloud events, or play with them in some way?
Yeah, I personally think you can integrate cloud events with multiple providers as well. For example, just take any observability platform. Let's say you have an application. If you have set up your observability on that application, then receiving those cloud events will eventually lead to observability metrics too. But we'll have to see in the docs how we're going to do that.
Yeah. Awesome. No, it's really good overview. I've got to be honest, I cheated a little bit because I've got some experience with cloud events. So because the V1 of the Captain project actually used cloud events, and we fired cloud events into NATS, and then NATS is a pub sub bus, so you can subscribe to that and all this kind of stuff. So, but I definitely learned some stuff today. I hope the listeners, no, the watchers did as well. Let's have a quick look to see if there's anything in the chat. If you are watching and you do have questions, please feel free to stick them in the YouTube or LinkedIn chat. Wow, someone's on from South Africa. That's cool. Hey, Ernest. Any questions? While we're waiting for questions, obviously being in APAC, I think it's only right that we mention the upcoming KubeCon in India on the 6th and 7th of August in Hyderabad. If you use that random looking text at the bottom there, that is a discount code for 15% off. So if you do want to join all of us in India, it would be cool, and you can use that code to do so. Let's give it a few more seconds for some questions, maybe. Questions. I think this is great. Thanks, Nitish, for running through this.
Are you planning to make it to KubeCon India?
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Don't know though. It's quite a long trip for me. For some reason, we can't go direct. The flights are sort of backwards past, because I'm in Australia. We're back to Dubai and then back again. So I'm not sure it's going to make much sense. Okay, there's no questions, which means you explained everything perfectly and everyone knows everything they need to know about cloud events, which is absolutely fantastic. So any final thoughts, or I'll close out the stream?
I think it was a great experience. I remember doing the last project about Dragonfly, and now the cloud events. I think this is really great stuff that CNCF is eventually doing. It doesn't help only us trying to understand the project, but anyone understand their perspective on how people would generally try to learn a project at the first place. So I think overall a great experience. Thanks for hosting it. You all are doing the really great for the community.
No worries. All right. Thanks everyone, and see you on the next one.